So this morning I'm joined by Callum Donnelly of Waylay. Callum, welcome to Ludgate's Member Spotlight Series. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. Delighted to be here. Looking forward to all the questions.
We have lots of them. So you joined Ludgate back in 2015, literally when we opened our doors. So you've been a long time member here.
I have, yeah. I started out kind of helping the founding team of the Ludgate Hub get started with Gráinne Dwyer, helping out kind of starting with the whole plan, what the place might look like, what our kind of objectives, ambitions were. And then after that, I decided that I would kind of become a member once I kind of went into the world of entrepreneurship and other different ventures.
Yeah, so do you want to speak to us a little bit about that? That must have been very exciting because not only are you seeing the building here evolve and see the programs that are coming out of Ludgate evolve, but also, you know, you've had your entrepreneurial experience as well from Ludgate.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting time because working, kind of starting this building, seeing so many cool entrepreneurs come in, some fantastic business people, kind of just got the kind of the taste to, I want to give it a go, instead of kind of being the onlooker onto seeing all of the success happening down here. I kind of wanted to maybe contribute towards it, so I kind of did go down an entrepreneurial journey with a company by the name of Parrot Scribe, which was successful enough, but I decided that wasn't quite suited for me, and I decided to pivot, as they would say in the startup world, into a different style of business. So now I'm working for Waylay.io.
Lovely. So tell us a little bit about Waylay, and even just going back there, backtracking a little bit. I love the resilience of entrepreneurs to keep going, to try something different, try something new. And I don't think we talk about that an awful lot.
Yeah, I think you do have to completely change things a lot of the time, iterate on an idea, because sometimes you might have a fantastic business idea, but you might not have executed it properly, or you might not have found the correct supports or the right funding mechanism, or else it could be the people that you surround yourself with. Some people can be fantastic, some people can really kind of pull you down. So I think that founders build up quite a resilience to kind of getting knocked back. So if you're going to stay down, I mean, it's really not the game for you to be in. You know, you need to move into a different style of things. So the opportunity I got to essentially move to take my learnings and experiences from starting my own business and then work for a really, really cool company like Waylay has been really, really fantastic. And I've actually been able to use some of my learnings to also help businesses who are starting out and might potentially work with Waylay. So that's a really, really interesting angle, which I love, is the fact that I've kind of been through the washing machine. I've come out the other side of things, you know, with a few bumps, a few scratches, but also a lot of learnings. So the fact that I'm able to discuss things with startups who are interested in using our platform, I can kind of help them in a tech style, you know, what type of services that we can potentially offer and how you can enhance your product development. But also I can also talk about, well, if you're going down this route, maybe avoid this type of pitfall, or this rabbit hole you could end up in. So that's a really, really interesting aspect of that I didn't think that I would have used, kind of changing from that startup world into maybe a scale-up world. The fact that I can actually give my skills and my experiences to people is really, really valuable in my job, and I really do actually enjoy, and that's one of the best parts of it, is the fact that I get to work with such a diverse range of companies. So from early fledgling founders who want to start a business but maybe they don't have the execution abilities, all the way up to startups who are established, and then now currently working on enterprise accounts. And it's a completely different dynamic working with the small startup and then having to talk to a large corporate organization that has many, many rules and many, many criteria. So it's a completely different game. So it's an interesting balance in that.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the skill set and the knowledge base that you attain, as you just said, is incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible. So tell us about Waylay. What does Waylay do for anybody who doesn't know about Waylay?
Yeah, so in essence, Waylay is a low-code automation platform. And we often work in the OT and IT world where essentially our core business would be around kind of connected assets, how companies can basically bring multiple connected assets and basically bring them all into one platform to build automation. So traditionally, you could have an instance where there could be, you could have a HVAC system which is made by Samsung or ABB, and you could have a door maintenance system which could be run by a different company, and you could have, let's say, automatic opening windows. So let's say we take a smart building example. All of those are different suppliers and vendors, and kind of bringing that into one platform can be very, very difficult. So with Waylay, we kind of built a very, very sophisticated ingestion layer which can consume any form of data from these platforms and bring them all into one platform, which allows for a really, really simple, easy way of building automation, rules, data orchestration. So we kind of take the headache and the significant amounts of, let's say, heavy developer work, and we basically put it in a platform which is very, very user-friendly. It's low and no code, which allows companies to basically iterate with an idea instead of having to basically expend, huge financial resources on hiring very, very skilled developers to do very, very specific jobs. With Waylay, we kind of give the flexibility to say that I think that there is a niche in the market here. I'm going to iterate and change something, and we do not essentially. The fact that it's low and no code, the financial expenditure is not huge, and the time is also not huge. But also the great thing that is that, given that it's low and no code, we really want to get kind of citizen developers using the platform, because within companies there are obviously very, very highly skilled IT and developer people, but there are also people who have a lot of domain knowledge because they might have worked in an organization for 15, 20 years, 10 years, and they might know that exact domain very, very well. We want to kind of allow those people to basically leverage their domain knowledge, but also to be able to develop solutions as well in tandem with the developers. So It's a citizen developer thing. So in a sense, it's kind of a democratizing, democratic way of essentially developing skills within an organization, because if you have someone working in operations who can then basically learn very quickly to become a developer, a citizen developer, I mean, that's a great asset for a company as well.
Love that idea, because we all know that developers are in short supply.
Absolutely.
So hard to get them. So that's a real value add.
Yeah. And for someone like me, I'm from a very non-technical background. I mean, I studied government and politics in UCC, and then I ended up in the startup world by accident. And then, working with my own startup, I wish that I had some of I wish I had the skills to be a citizen developer a lot of the time. So that's something I think for organizations is a real bonus, is the fact that you can take staff members, maybe upskill them very, very quickly, and get them basically developing product quickly for your company.
Brilliant. Using the Waylay solution.
Yeah, using the Waylay solution, but also low and no code. It's a fantastic opportunity for a lot of businesses to essentially, not everything has to be reinvented. I mean, you can basically use snippets of code or basically drag and drop to build very, very sophisticated applications. And there are many, many companies around the world kind of on this trend at the moment. And what's really, really interesting is that some of the largest companies on the planet are kind of changing into this low code and no code option because of trying to attain those skilled developers to get into their companies.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting to see that the biggest companies are starting to go this way. But from working with startups and also working with the enterprise customers, it's really, really interesting when talking to startups that they're a little bit more protective over what they've built and what they can build. And what I kind of saying is that you can go build that, but you might spend 150,000 euros building something for a very, very specific use case, and then you might find that it might not function at the end of the day. So we're kind of saying that, why are you burning your runway when you could be actually building something in 3 weeks versus 6 months?
Using the Waylay.
Using Waylay or using other low and no code platforms. You can get out, you can build your MVP, your POC, get selling, because I guess the lifeblood of a startup is getting money in the door. And if you're for instance, my example was that I spent about a year developing product, and then when we went to go launch the product, I mean, we found that it wasn't exactly ready and needed more money to get a customer ready or in any capacity. So, I mean, I think startups really do need to look at, where the priorities are. I mean, building a great product, absolutely, but I think you need to build a product that can be in the market as quickly as possible, because I think and I think there's an awful lot of perfectionism in the startup space as well. I think that
because they're so proud of their idea, they don't want to part with it. They want to protect it. They want to nurture it.
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
want it to be the very best. Whereas sometimes you don't actually need it to be the best when you go to market. You need whatever the MVP or the minimum viable product is. You need to identify that. And you talked about runway there. Well, it's important to identify the runway from a development perspective, also from a money perspective, and where you're going to get that money from.
Absolutely. You need to build something that'll basically open the door to unlock that money. And I think it was the founder of LinkedIn, Reed Hastings, I think he said along the lines of if you're happy with your first product release, it means you're already too late, because essentially you wasted so much time in your first product.
Yes.
And the ability to get it out into the market, get customers testing it is probably the most important thing. Get the feedback.
Yeah.
If you're, to be totally honest, if your product's dog shit, I mean, you need to have a customer who's going to be using it telling you that this is not right, this is not going to work in this environment. Go back, iterate, change, then come back, present. And I think giving companies the flexibility to do that is huge. That if you are told, I need to change my product, in the traditional sense, you might be like, okay, well, I need to go allocate huge amount of resources into basically upending the product with developers. This is not going to work in this environment. I need to completely change my architecture, my infrastructure. But if you go down the low and no code route, in some instances, you can basically take that headache away, where you can say, okay, yeah, we could probably have those changes done in maybe 2 weeks, and let's try and get there. So it gives that startup that ability to quickly deploy and execute on customer requests. And it's not going to take a huge amount of money either, because if the customer asks you to do something very, very specific, also traditionally it could be like, oh, well, that could cost me, 20,000 to fulfill that customer request. So you might want to say, well, will you guys back up money up front to essentially build that? Will you buy it at the end of the day? But with the low and no code route, you can say, okay, yeah, we can probably do that, and it's not going to cost you that much. So it gives you that flexibility.
Yeah. Just going back to the citizen developer, can Waylay have a program that will train the citizen developer, or how is that managed, or is it internal, is it in-house within the organisation?
Well, we do. Well, we do aspects of that. Well, we have a really, really great. We have a platform called Waylay.io, which is kind of a community-based citizen developer platform where you can basically log on and use the platform. And we do have a community manager there who basically looks after people, make sure that they're doing good, make sure that they're achieving their use cases or their business goals. But we also have significant amounts of videos and explainer videos, tutorials, and an awful lot of very, very in-depth documentation, which I guess is critical to basically making sure that when people get on the platform, they can basically achieve it. And we kind of split it into three kind of categories, where we have data ingestion, automation in the middle, and then we have visualization. So kind of broke down into three categories. And it's a pretty user-friendly platform to basically jump on. I often kind of describe it in terms of its UI and look. It's often like, imagine if me and you were coming up with a business idea right now. I mean, probably the first thing that we would do is go to a whiteboard and start drawing boxes and say, this is this component, then we connect it to this component. Essentially, Waylay operates in the same way. It looks like a blank canvas, where we have basically a stack of basically pre-built nodes and sensors where you can basically drag them in and connect things up. So it follows the same logic as if me and you were iterating around a startup idea or building a software solution.
Like building blocks.
Kind of like building blocks, yeah. So it's very, very effective, and that's kind of a trend that is kind of in the market at the moment, where this drag and drop feature is super critical.
Gives you the flexibility as the user to decide what you're going to get from this.
You can build a template, and if that template works, you can deploy it. If it doesn't work, just change it really quickly.
Love the ease of use of that.
Yeah.
So, Callum, your customer base then, are they predominantly in Europe? Are they US? Whereabouts are they?
Predominantly US and Europe.
Okay.
I also believe some in Asia as well, but a really, really mixed bag of customers. Enterprise customers, the usual, the kind of big names within the OT IT space, and then one thing that is also kind of growing is the smaller companies start to leverage the platform as well.
Great.
Startups, SMEs, which is really, really encouraging as well to see that it's not just big enterprise conglomerates, it's also smaller companies who are willing to give us a go, which is brilliant.
And so the team then, the Waylay team in general, are they spread out then around the world, or where are you located?
They are indeed. So we have the HQ is in Belgium, in Ghent. Right. Amazing, beautiful city, really, really nice. I mean, when I was heading over to Belgium, I didn't know what to expect when I got to Ghent. I was like,
of course, it's not any more beautiful than West Cork, right?
No, West Cork is absolutely gorgeous as well, but Belgium is fantastic, and Ghent is just an amazing place. So that's where the HQ is.
Okay.
And then we also have a US team as well in Texas and Colorado, and then of course the Irish contingent sitting here in Skibbereen using the Ludgate facilities.
So to my final question, what does it mean to you then, as a Ludgate user, being part of the Ludgate community? What is the value add there?
I think it's huge. I think so the ability for me to work in West Cork is obviously a huge thing because I'm from here and I love the place. And previously to Ludgate, I would have had to go, where would I have gone to basically get a great office facility? Probably have to go to the city, go to Dublin. And so the fact that it's here and the hub is a premier kind of co-working space, startup space, nationally and also European, it's got such a brand recognition. So a lot of the time it was really, really interesting that I used to use the Ludgate Hub as an initial icebreaker to basically get in contact with customers because, you know, they might not be interested in what I was selling at all, but I would say I'm from West Cork, I'm working out of the Ludgate Hub, and I would tweak an interest and they would say, oh, I love West Cork, I've heard so much about the Ludgate Hub, they jump on a call with me.
And the conversation flows then.
Absolutely,
yeah.
it's a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they probably weren't in any way interested in buying my product at the time, but they were very, very interested to learn more about the Ludgate Hub, which is really, really good. But the fact they didn't buy my product was great. It was a grand, like I didn't mind, but also built up new contacts. So that network building is huge. And a lot of the time, you know, if I'm in Cork or Dublin, I would meet people, you know, let's say if I was in Dogmatch Lads, I'd meet someone and then I'd see them down here during the summer. Yeah. You know, it's really, it's a really, really good network.
The community you engage with, the network that you can build on foot of it, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
And also the members in here are also fantastic. I mean, they're such a diverse range of people. You know, from people working in corporates to freelancers to solopreneurs to startups, and also the Ludgate team. I mean, there's a great diverse range of talents there, so if you do have an issue or you want to basically ideate something, I mean, there's always someone there to basically help you in those tasks.
Great to hear, Callum. Listen, I think we've probably gone over our 10 to 15 minutes at this stage. Thank you so much for sitting down with me this morning and doing the Member Spotlight with us, and continued success.
Great, thank
Thanks.
you.